1 in 3 people worldwide has hypertension, a silent condition that, if not controlled, can lead to heart attacks, strokes, or dementia. Now, there are a number of plants that, when taken as an infusion, have been shown to help us lower blood pressure naturally, among many other benefits that we will see, making these herbs taken daily great allies to reinforce our health. So I will explain what doses to take to benefit from their advantages, who should not take them, and what precautions I should know if I want to consume them safely. Today, I share with you 10 infusions to lower our blood pressure, backed by science. And before we see what these medicinal plants are, remember that while these herbs can be useful in the case of high blood pressure, we should never delay consulting a doctor. Hypertension will always require a doctor's assessment to reach a proper diagnosis and treatment, and also to rule out that there is a secondary medical condition causing it. And now let's start. First, we have olive leaf tea. When we delve into the science behind this tea, we find that it helps us lower our blood pressure thanks to its vasodilator power, relaxing the blood vessels and allowing our blood to move easily through them to deliver oxygen and nutrients to our organs and tissues. And not only that, but olive leaf also has a diuretic property, which will help us lower blood pressure even further by making our body eliminate more salt and water through the kidneys. And this effect is due to oleuropein, a compound that acts like the most commonly used hypertension drugs. That is, by inhibiting the angiotensin-converting enzyme, which is a key piece in the regulation of our blood pressure. In a study, adults with hypertension were given olive leaf extract, and others, one of the most potent antihypertensives there is, captopril, and the results could not be more promising. After 12 weeks, both had the same success lowering the participants' blood pressure. This does not mean that we should forget about hypertension medication, but it reminds us that more resources should be put into studying the effects of this and other plants on our health. For now, we have small studies, so it is wise to call for caution. Now, this study had a collateral result that was probably not counted on. The group that consumed olive tea also decreased their triglycerides and blood sugar levels, while the drug only limited itself to lowering blood pressure. So thanks to this multiple function, this infusion, which we will now see how to prepare, can help us prevent, within a lifestyle and healthy habits, cardiovascular events. And to take olive leaves in infusion, it is advisable to use 1 tablespoon of fresh leaf per each cup of water, letting it rest for 10 minutes before straining. And the recommended dose is between 2 and 3 cups a day. Second, we have rosemary, a plant that has been used for centuries as a remedy for headaches, to improve memory, and for other functions like relieving swelling and constipation, since the times of ancient Rome. And although rosemary has been a popular plant for many centuries, it is now that science is starting to confirm these important benefits, and especially its cardio-healthy properties. And it is that several bioactive compounds of rosemary, especially rosmarinic acid, help lower our blood pressure thanks to a vasodilator effect. But not only that, in addition, there are several studies that tell us that caffeic acid, another valuable component of rosemary, also contributes to cardiovascular health by helping rosmarinic acid in this regulation of our blood pressure. And to prepare rosemary tea or infusion, first we boil 1 cup of water, in which we put 1 or 2 teaspoons of fresh or dried rosemary leaves. Important if the leaves are fresh, crush them beforehand so that they release their bioactive principles better. And once we have the mixture, we cover it and let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes before straining and consuming. And as for the dose, the most recommended and studied are 1 or 2 cups a day. Third, we have basil, an herb with an unmistakable aroma and flavor that, beyond its culinary contribution, is going to have important benefits for our health. And this is going to be thanks to eugenol, one of the most potent natural antioxidants we know, and that helps us reduce our blood pressure by preventing too much calcium from entering the heart cells and arteries, which makes the blood vessels be able to relax and expand, thus decreasing our blood pressure. Now for basil tea, we are going to use 4 or 5 fresh basil leaves, which we will crush and then place them in a cup into which we pour 240 ml of boiling water and cover for 10 minutes so that the basil releases its active principles, and then we strain it for consumption. Fourth, we have cinnamon, a spice widely used in traditional medicine over the centuries, and specifically, cinnamon has shown to be effective in combating hypertension, something that science has been corroborating over time. Moreover, in a review of 9 studies, it showed an improvement in systolic blood pressure, that is, the high one, by an average of 6.2 points, and diastolic by 3.9. And it is that cinnamon will cause this improvement in our blood pressure, thanks to cinnamaldehyde, a compound that, in addition to its effect on our blood vessels, is known to decrease our blood sugar levels, improve insulin sensitivity, and exert an anti-inflammatory power. So beyond the infusion, it will be interesting to include this spice in our kitchens. So, about 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, which we will add to a cup of warm water without the need to have brought it to a boil. We let it rest for 5-10 minutes so that the heat releases the beneficial compounds of the cinnamon, and we drink it directly. Fifth, we have hibiscus tea, an infusion prepared from the dried petals of this plant's flower, and that beyond its intense red color and that sweet and sour flavor so characteristic, hibiscus tea is known for its beneficial properties for our cardiovascular health. And this is due to the active compounds of hibiscus, such as anthocyanins and polyphenols, which will play a crucial role in the relaxation of our blood vessels, which will translate into a decrease in our blood pressure, something that has been demonstrated especially in people with low-grade hypertension or in early stages, since according to the studies we have, consuming hibiscus tea leads to a milder improvement in blood pressure than the plants we have seen so far. As for the infusion, the recommended proportion is 1.5 teaspoons of dried hibiscus flowers in a cup of boiling water, letting it rest for 5 minutes covered, and it can be taken both hot and cold as a refreshing drink. Sixth, we have thyme, an herb we know well for its use in cooking, but beyond this, it has several components with beneficial effects for our health. One of them, rosmarinic acid, which has captured the attention of the scientific community thanks to its anti-inflammatory role and lowering our blood glucose levels. And yes, we have small laboratory studies that also demonstrate that rosmarinic acid helps lower our high blood pressure by acting against the angiotensin enzyme, which has a name that says it all. The one that tightens the vessels. Now, these studies tell us that in addition, thyme extract can help reduce our cardiovascular risk by lowering LDL or bad cholesterol and triglycerides in our blood. But it is convenient to remember that we have few trials in humans with thyme, so we need more studies to come out to confirm its effectiveness. And for the infusion, we add S teaspoon and a half of thyme per cup of boiling water and let it rest for 10 minutes. And the doses are 1 or 2 cups a day. Seventh, we have ginger, a plant that contains more than 20 antioxidant compounds, and here lies its power in our cardiovascular health, especially in regulating blood pressure. But not only that. Ginger acts as a natural blocker of our calcium channels, a mechanism that, as we have seen, contributes to the decrease in our blood pressure. Moreover, to this effect is added its ability to inhibit the angiotensin-converting enzyme, just like many antihypertensive drugs do. And it is that several human studies have already shown that its consumption helps reduce blood pressure through mechanisms very similar to those of the drugs we use to lower it. Now, such will be the effect of this plant that it will be important to bear in mind that half a teaspoon of ginger powder may be enough to lower our blood pressure. So if I take medication for hypertension, I will need to consume it in moderation. And of course, before incorporating it into my daily routine, I should consult with my doctor. And to prepare ginger tea, we take an inch of fresh ginger root, peeled and sliced. With this, we will ensure that the infusion is more concentrated. In a saucepan, we place the ginger with 1 cup of water. Then we put the mixture on high heat and bring it to a boil, and then simmer for 5-10 minutes for the ginger to finish releasing gingerol and other of its bioactive compounds into the water, and we pour it to serve. Eighth, we have bay leaf, a tea accessible for being a plant present in many kitchens. Bay leaf is rich in phenolic acid and eugenol, some compounds that can help us lower our blood pressure through a triple route. First, by making a vasodilator effect, relaxing our blood vessels. Second, thanks to the anti-inflammatory effect of this plant. And third, thanks to its diuretic properties, which will be fundamental to combat fluid retention by promoting its elimination in our kidneys. And the easiest way to use this plant, and at the same time, the one that will give us the best benefits, is the bay leaf infusion. Here what we do is introduce 2 bay leaves type nobilis, the kitchen one, in a cup of boiling water. We cover it and leave 10 minutes of rest so that the plant releases its active principles into the water. Ninth, we have chamomile, a plant known for its calming and sedative properties, which it owes to one of its active compounds, apigenin, a flavonoid that in our brain binds to GABA receptors, which is a neurotransmitter known for reducing the activation of our neurons, making it easier in this way our transition to sleep. And it is thanks to these properties that chamomile has been shown to be able to reduce our blood pressure indirectly by promoting a more relaxed state and a restorative sleep. So, this mechanism of chamomile lowering our blood pressure through the relaxation of our nervous system teaches us that adequate rest is one of the fundamental pillars of our cardiovascular health. And to prepare the chamomile infusion, the recommended is 1 teaspoon of dried flowers per cup of water. If we opt for fresh flowers, it will be a good idea to crush them a little beforehand to release their active principles. So we carefully pour 240 ml of boiling water over the flowers and cover the cup for 5-10 minutes with a lid or a saucer to maintain the heat and allow the beneficial compounds of the flowers to be released into the water. And finally, we use a strainer to separate the flowers from the liquid and pour the infusion, which will now be ready for us to enjoy. 10th, we have green tea, a plant very rich in antioxidants that has been shown to offer us significant benefits for our heart, and these beneficial effects are attributed mainly to its content of catechins. Moreover, a recent review that compiled data from 24 studies came to the conclusion that drinking green tea is going to be beneficial to lower our levels of systolic blood pressure, the high one, and diastolic. And not only that, there are already several human studies that show us that the habitual consumption of green tea regularly, among other benefits, can specifically reduce our risk of suffering heart attacks or strokes. Now, to prepare the tea, we will add half a tablespoon of dried green tea leaves for each cup. We are going to prepare and add hot water and wait for it to rest for about 5 minutes before consuming it. So, these 10 plants, used in the context of an active life and healthy diet, will help us maintain adequate blood pressure levels. Now, if I'm in a special situation such as pregnancy, breastfeeding, or have any illness or take any chronic medication with which these plants may interact, it will be convenient before using any measure for medicinal purposes to consult with my doctor, who is the one who knows my case best. And on the other hand, I must bear in mind that these plants can have such an effect on my blood pressure that if I'm already taking medication to lower it, it is very likely that I will not be able to use these infusions in my daily routine by making a cumulative effect and lowering my tension excessively. And thank you very much for staying with me until here. What do you think of these plants? Do you consume any? I read you here below in the comments. And if it has been useful, I will only ask you to share this video on WhatsApp with the people you think it can help. Take great care.